Hi, welcome back to this Free-for-All Thursday edition. Free-for-All Friday on Thursday this week on Focal Point, AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. You are listening to High Definition Radio right here on AFR Talk. A little cultural note from the UK. I'm hoping most of you already had your lunch because I'm about ready to wreck your appetite. This is a piece from the Investors Business Times in the UK. This is about a takeout restaurant featuring Indian cuisine. An unnamed Indian takeaway, that's their term for it, has been found serving wrongly labeled meat by BBC researchers. Food experts working for a BBC Three program had ordered an Indian lamb curry from the London restaurant, but found that the meat in the curry had no trace of lamb. Further DNA tests concluded that the meat chunks were not beef, chicken, pork, goat, horse, or even human flesh, leading to speculation that the lamb curry contained dog or cat meat. A spokesman said the lab is unable to identify exactly which animal this meat came from. The beef in a Chinese black bean sauce consisted largely of chicken blood and contained only tiny amounts of beef. And a beef burger bought from a local fast food shop was analyzed in the laboratory to reveal that it consisted of bovine blood, chicken scraps, and a high level of chicken blood. So that is your little appetizer. Wanted to save that for after lunch. And by the time you get to dinner, you will have forgotten all about it, and you'll go out and have one of them McRib sandwiches at McDonald's. Remember, that's made, I forget what that's made out of, like scarred stomach or something like that, and tripe and all kind of stuff. So bon appetit. Now, I want to talk about the gay marriage issue. It's interesting, by the way. You know, the issue that the Supreme Court was dealing with is whether, number to call, by the way, if you want to join the conversation today, Free for All Friday on Thursday, talk about anything you want, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Now, the issue is whether there is a constitutional right to gay marriage. Now, we've talked about this frequently before. There cannot possibly be. It is impossible that there could be a constitutional right to same-sex marriage for the simple reason it is impossible that there could be a constitutional right to engage in same-sex behavior. It is flatly impossible for there to be any constitutional right to engage in homosexual conduct because it was illegal in America. It was a felony offense in America for the first 255 years of our existence. So the very same people that drafted the Constitution, many of them were also state legislators before they went to Congress and drafted the Constitution and all that. And while they were state legislators, they passed laws that made homosexual conduct a felony offense. Same people drafting the Constitution, the same people enshrining the unalienable rights in our Constitution, were the same people who at the same time said that homosexual behavior is a felony crime in the United States of America. That means it is flatly impossible. There is no possible way, not rationally, not legally, not morally, not constitutionally. There is no possible way that engaging in homosexual behavior is a constitutional right because the Constitution has never been changed to permit it. Now, people want to make it a constitutional right, then they're going to have to go to the trouble to amend the Constitution and put that in there somewhere because it cannot possibly be the case. So what that tells us, you can't have a constitutional right to same-sex marriage when you don't even have a constitutional right to same-sex behavior. So, I mean, this is just absolutely straightforward. It's common sense. And, the fact that there's any question about it is just a sign of how confused people are when it comes to the Constitution. Now, Elena Kagan, back in 2009, was going through her confirmation hearings to become a member of the Supreme Court. She sat on the Supreme Court last 2 days, asked a bunch of questions on the issue of whether there is a constitutional right to same-sex marriage. And, of course, the people are in court arguing that equality demands that everybody gets to marry anybody they want. They have a constitutional right to marry somebody of the same sex. It is a right that is guaranteed in our Constitution. And, of course, Anthony Scalia said, well, when did this happen? When did it suddenly become a constitutional right? When did that happen? At what point did that happen? And, of course, the attorneys had no answer to that because there is no answer to that question. All they could say is, well, things are evolving. Well, the Constitution hasn't. It's the same Constitution. All the relevant parts are the same they've always been. Hadn't been any change that would suddenly, mysteriously make it legitimate or a constitutional requirement to let people of the same sex get married. Now, here's a quote from her confirmation hearing in 2009. I don't remember who was asking this question. One of the senators is asking this question. I'm not sure who it is, but here's the question. As Solicitor General, you would be charged with defending the Defense of Marriage Act. That's what was under discussion yesterday. That law, as you may know, was enacted by overwhelming majorities of both houses of Congress, 85-14 in the Senate, 342-67 in the House in 1996, and signed into law by President Clinton. Given your rhetoric about don't ask, don't tell policy, you called it, quote, a profound wrong, a moral injustice of the first order, end quote. Let me ask this basic question. Do you believe that there is a federal constitutional right to same-sex marriage? So she's asked this question directly in the confirmation hearings. Do you believe that there is a federal constitutional right to same-sex marriage? Her answer, there is no federal constitutional right to same-sex marriage. Now, some people thought she was just kind of using nuance and finesse, and it all depends on what the meaning of is. But she said later in response to a letter from Arlen Specter, I previously answered this question briefly, but I had hoped clearly, saying that, quote, there is no federal constitutional right to same-sex marriage. I meant for this statement to bear its natural meaning. So Elena Kagan, just 4 years ago, and the Constitution, of course, is the same in 2013 as it was in 2009. No change whatsoever. If there was no federal constitutional right to same-sex marriage in 2009, there sure as heck is not today. Now, let's grab clip number one, Rob. This is Joshua Earnest. He's the Deputy White House Press Secretary sitting in for Jay Carney. And he talks about how rapidly the United States is changing its view on the issue of same-sex marriage. Let's listen.
Well, so to speak, I guess. I got asked this question a couple of weeks ago after Senator Portman made his announcement about his changing view on this issue. I haven't talked to the president about any of the specific announcements that have been made by other senators in recent days on this issue, but I do think it's a testament to something I referred to a couple of weeks ago when asked about this. We're seeing a pretty significant change in this country, where an issue related to equality and fairness is getting more prominence. And I think it is a testament to the character of this country that we are moving in a direction where we will better fulfill some of the founding principles of the country in terms of treating everybody fairly and equally. And what's notable, I think, about this circumstance is it's happening really fast. We're seeing history change right before our eyes. That's a notable event. I think the president himself, when he talked about his own changing perspective on this issue, acknowledged the rapid nature of that change and how significant it was for the country.
So a couple of things I think that are worth noting in responding to this statement from the Deputy White House Press Secretary. He says, and I agree with him, it is a testament to the character of this country. He's exactly right, only in exactly the opposite sense in which he means it. It says something about the character of this country that we are prepared now, and our Supreme Court might force the United States to embrace sexual deviancy, to embrace sexual abnormality, to embrace sexually non-normative behavior, to embrace what we always call the infamous crime against nature, and treat that as the moral and ethical equivalent of man-woman marriage. I mean, that is a testament to the character of this country, and it is not a good testament. Now, what Joshua Ernest says, this is an indication that we are moving in the direction of equality and fairness. This is absolutely not true. This is absolutely flatly upside down. We are not moving in a direction of equality and fairness. We are moving in the direction of inequality and special treatment rather than fairness. Because remember, it bears repeating, and we have to camp on this. Almost no one else I know of is even making this point, but it's the most single important point that we can make in this whole debate. Right now, homosexuals are being treated with absolute equality and absolute fairness. They are being treated under the law just like everybody else in America. We are all equal under the law. That's fairness. That's equality before the law. Nobody is taking away the right of any individual to get married. If they want to get married, the same rule applies to everybody. You can get married to one non-relative, adult member of the opposite sex. That's absolutely fair. That's absolutely equal. The same exact rule applies to everybody. But that's not what homosexuals want. They do not want equality. They do not want fairness. They want inequality, and they want special rights. They want a special carve-out for them that we don't give to pedophiles and to polygamists. Focal Point AFR Talk. Be back with your phone calls and more. Stay with us.